You know, everyone's so paranoid. The second that a remake comes out, they're like, oh no, you're gonna ruin it. You're gonna ruin it. And I heard a quote that I absolutely loved that from John Campea at AMC Movie Talk that said, a remake can happen. I'm perfectly okay with remakes because if it sucks, you always have the original. I will always have this original copy of Robocop. Oh, crap. Robocop. Okay, so Robocop is the new action reboot, because I'm not going to call it a remake, because it's such a different vision on the same kind of story. It actually is more of a reboot than The Amazing Spider-Man, in my opinion, because they take a lot of the concepts and say, let's see how we can make them differently. I've been a huge Robocop fan. My uncle and my mother introduced it to me when I was pretty young, I'd say. And, you know, I've been captivated ever since. There were where other movies were phenomenons, per se. I was watching Robocop. I love Robocop. I showed it to all my friends the second I watched it. I was like, dude, you gotta watch this. So, of course, when I find out they're gonna make a reboot, and I've followed this reboot since they said Ben Affleck was going to be Robocop. Yeah, just remember that. Dig in the recesses of your movie memory brain. Yeah, Batman was gonna be Robocop. Yeah. So, those of you who remember that, yeah, that's how long I've followed this production. Maybe even a little longer than that. And I was sitting there going, oh my god, Robocop's happening again. And then it kept fumbling, and now it's finally here. And I was really nervous when it first came out because there were a lot of things I was like, I don't know. Making his suit black, making him look like Batman Robocop. I said, you gotta have social commentary for a Robocop. You gotta have the conflict of the human soul in Robocop. And you have to have the elements of just, obviously, some dark-ish comedy. You gotta have all those elements. That is key in Robocop. And so I went to go see this movie, and what did I think of it? I can't begin to tell you how much I loved this film. It was entertainment beyond my actual expectations. I went in, the entire time that this was about to come out, I was sitting there going, please don't suck, please don't suck. And I avoided Rotten Tomatoes, I avoided all those places because I don't want to know what they have to say, because obviously my opinion is what I want to say. I don't want their opinion to influence mine. So whether it be good or not, this is mine. I loved it. I thought, for a PG-13 movie, because yes, it is PG-13, and all of you who say, oh my god, it's PG-13, how dare they? As a lot of you who say, oh man, it's not R, how dare they, type thing, well, they have their reasons. And you know, this movie, I didn't care after a while. I was sitting there and I was enjoying it. This film, I enjoyed the PG-13 version, which makes me excited. Maybe they'll release an unrated version? Maybe? Alex Murphy is this cop who is kind of very well-rounded, per se. So they're like, oh, he's perfect. Let's get him in a suit. And he dies, let's put him in this battle suit, and he goes forth. It sounds very simple, but there's so much heart to it. The marriage that they played up a lot more from this one than the original. I loved it. You just believe their marriage. I mean, yes, the actor who played Robocop, Joel Kinnaman, okay, he's okay. But everybody else was phenomenal around him. And back to Joel Kinnaman, he wasn't terrible. It's just almost like he was so committed to playing Robocop that he forgot to be Alex Murphy at times. There were times he was very, very much Alex Murphy, where it's like, oh no, I relate to you, and stuff. And you're sitting there and you enjoy it, you're along for the ride, and of course, any Robocop, men, women of any generation, Robocop needs gratuitous violence. And you, knowing me, as an action fan, need gratuitous violence in my action movies. Oh yeah, it delivered. Action guy explained it perfectly. So, this movie has sweet action. Really amazing. I mean, Robocop's sitting there and it's just... And then they're like... Oh yeah. My testosterone was so satisfied. It was like Jack Nicholson level reaction where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a number one guy. At first, I'm not gonna lie. The first scene, which was kind of like in a Middle Eastern setting, I won't tell you why, that he shot an action scene, the director and the cinematographer and all that. And I was sitting there going, oh, no. It had a lot of shaky cam, and I was really nervous. But by the second gunfight, I was like, this is getting better. And then the third gunfight, I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. It was exactly what it needed to be. By the end of it, it had some of the most dynamic, cool shots I've seen in an action sci-fi movie in a little while. And I thought this was really funny about Michael Keaton as the bad guy. All of you who are dedicated Michael Keaton fans, tell me you didn't notice this. When you're watching him on screen, there were moments where he's trying to be the douchebag corporate guy that you could tell that he was trying not to play Beetlejuice. I feel like the director was sitting there going, please, for me, just play Beetlejuice a little bit, please. And, of course, Michael Keaton's like, alright. So, I mean, there's literally scenes where he's sitting there's like, well, Chuck, I've come for your daughter. Sandworms, right? Sandworms really affect my, corporate, bottom line, sandworms. Yeah. Nice model. I was watching it and I didn't want my opinion to be impaired by there were these annoying people in the theater, which I have to address this because people, if we all just kind of quietly leave the theater and say, weren't those people annoying? They're just going to keep doing it. So, this is what I was thinking about during the movie, about my experience. Yo, this movie's gonna be crazy! You know, I'm gonna tweet of this. I don't care if the movie started. It's good, right, yo?
I am Robocop. Please stop being annoying in the theater or there will be trouble.
Oh, alright. You think you can just do whatever you want cause the movie started and audience wants to watch it?
You have 10 seconds to comply.
Yo! I have to tweet for my homies in the upper middle class. Yo! I don't care if I'm not street enough for you. I got to Facebooks and text this, yo!
Texting, let's to comply. Enjoy the picture, audience.
People are so rude. Anyways, one of the things I wanted to point out last was the music. I loved the music because the music was great. It had that Robocop-y tone, but in the beginning, all of a sudden I heard it with the da-na-na-na-na, da-da-na-da, and then as the Robocop titles came on, it's like da-na-na-na-da. It was so awesome. I was sitting there going, Robocop! There was actually someone who clapped in the theater, and that made my day. And also just occasionally throughout, if you listen carefully, you can hear the da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, that I love so much of Robocop. I love that they threw that in there. That is not a spoiler. I just had to say they threw it in there, and that solidified it. I had a checklist, actually, of things that I said were necessary for the movie, and I was like, oh, whoop, whoop, whoop. And I gotta say, they nailed just about everything of references, just all of that kind of stuff. I am so happy that this turned out the way that it did, honestly. I was more surprised than probably anybody else in the sense of I surprised myself at how much I liked it. Everyone that I went with liked it. I think we have something here, and it's almost like a Robocop for a new era, because they really took it into modern context, where everything that they had with Robocop, artificial intelligence, instead of making it 80s themed, this is 2000s theme. And you know, this is a bad analogy, but this is the remix. This is the remix of Robocop. You will always have your original Robocop, but this Robocop is great too. And I loved it. And I, as a Robocop fan, think it's fantastic. Because if you think about it, when they take all these things and say, let's see how we can do it in a modern way. They can't just say, well, let's just pull from this older stuff that could be dated. Let's try and make it new. It's their attempt at making something original inside of pre-created material. And I gotta give them props for that, because they did it right. The original was about sort of like a Jesus metaphor, and this one has a lot of that too. But at the same time, it says, okay, the original was about you finding your past self, but at the same time discovering that with your future. And this one is breaking out of your humanity, that love triumphs. And the way they did the messages were perfect. The chemistry was great. Everyone, I bought it. And you know, Gary Oldman, Michael Keaton, I don't have to say their performances are great, you know their performances are great. Okay, so in the end, guys, I am so relieved to say this. I loved Robocop. It will be in my collection. Robocop is solidly in 85%. Yes, in 85%. I went in there worried that maybe I was going to give it a 60, a 50, a 40. But no, 85%. This is an event movie with heart. And I highly recommend, if you are on the fence as a Robocop fan, and me as a Robocop fan, I recommend you check it out. So please go check it out. I really insist. I think you'll like it. Especially, you have to go without those preconceived notions. And that could be seen as saying that's a cop-out. But you have to think, this is a different movie. This is not the same movie. They very much differ from the original. As I said, it's not a remake, it's a reboot. A reboot is them taking the original concept material and spinning it in their own way. A remake is them trying to create what was already set forth basically exactly. Let Me In was a remake of Let the Right One In. Amazing Spider-Man was a reboot. They went in an entirely different direction. But everyone always says this is the Robocop remake. Guys, this is a Robocop reboot. It is great, and especially because you have to think this is a different Robocop. And that's not saying, oh, add all of these buffs to its score. No, this is its own movie. And as its own movie, it is an 85%. Is it as good as the original? No, in that nostalgia factor. But this has its own merits. Its own merits that really give it that gravitas, that it's like, wow, they really took something out of this. I loved it. I would be more than happy to watch this movie again. And that says something. Because how often do you sit there right after really watching a movie and saying, I could watch that again. So guys, please, at least give it a shot. Go see Robocop. Until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Scott Aker with MP27 Reviews, signing off.